So in the previous video, we actually got started understanding the basic of writing a function. In this video, we will actually write the function. So that's how you write the basic function, int function. That's the basic code for writing a function. When you write a function, you have to give that function a name. So let's start from scratch. Type in function, hit space, and you'll see this int function code line get generated automatically. Now we have to name the function. Let's name this function. Let's name it as navigate underscore browser. So let's name it navigate underscore browser with opening bracket and closing bracket. That's it. So we have created a function, but we don't really have anything inside the function. So we don't really have anything that we can reuse inside this function. So this is a function. Let's save it. We have created a function, and let's put some code into this function. Whatever code we put here will be considered as function called navigate underscore browser. So what I'll do is I'll take this code and I'll put it inside this function right here. Right now, I have created a function with some elements. For this navigate underscore browser function, I have this code. So from now on, I can call this function navigate underscore browser from any script, from any action. Any script, any action, I can call this navigate underscore browser function, and this function will launch the browser and will navigate to facebook.com. So now since we have creating functions, we are aiming to reuse them. So let's try to not have this URL. So let's say for another script I have to navigate to a different browser, not facebook.com. So in that case, what do I have to do? So I take off http facebook.com, and let's try to parameterize that. Okay, let's try to parameterize that in a way so that my function can navigate to any URL that we specify. I'll show you exactly what I mean here. So we have systemutil.run explore. Now instead of writing http facebook.com, just after the name of the function, I will pass a variable right here. I will pass a variable within this opening and closing bracket. Let's name it as URL. I'll explain exactly what I mean by this and what exactly we will be doing with this code. So I have a function named navigate underscore browser, and I have a variable called, I pass a variable called URL. So I would tell my code to open a browser, launch a browser, systemutil.run explore.exe, and then comma, navigate. Now after the comma, whatever URL I'm going to put, my browser will navigate to that URL. So instead of putting a hard-coded URL, which we've discussed, hard-coded means putting the data directly within the script. Let's put URL here. URL. Now why did I write URL instead of http facebook.com? Because I'm telling my function that open the browser and navigate to URL. URL means this URL. So I'm telling my browser navigate to whatever URL my function has. So whatever I have within this bracket, navigate to that. I'll explain what I mean a little further. If you never created functions before, try to understand this concept of creating a very simple function that you can create. Then you can create any type of function moving forward. So here we have this function navigate browser URL, launch a browser, and navigate to that URL. Save it. From our script after calling all these variables, we need to launch a browser before we enter the email ID. That's where we had our launching browser code. That's why we had the code. So let's try to call that function that we created, navigate underscore browser. So just to be able to call the function, we just have to name the function. Navigate underscore browser, that's the function. Navigate underscore browser, we are calling the function. So let's go back to the function. So instead of putting URL, instead of writing URL here, we will pass a value. Let's say facebook.com http facebook.com. So this is why we pass a variable. Instead of writing URL, you can say something, you can name anything here, URL, or you can say my URL, and then you have to write the same thing in here. Then whatever you write the same thing here because you are calling or passing that value. My URL, doesn't really matter. So we are calling the function, navigate underscore function. We are passing the value, http facebook.com, and this value, the VB script, will put that value in this part of my function. So we will put systemutil.run iexplore.exe followed by this value that we are putting in here. Exactly this value. So that means we are navigating to the browser, we are launching the browser, and navigating to facebook.com. And I can reuse this function. So let's try to run this and see if this function gets executed or not. So instead of having the code in my script, I have created a function, and from the code, I am recalling that function and passing a value. That's all about functions. So let's save this script. And let's try to run the script. Let's try to run the script and see if this function gets called. We are expecting an error actually. So let's see if we get this error. Okay, as expected, we have a variable is undefined error. So this is how you troubleshoot. This is how we troubleshoot the problem and get to learn. It is telling you that it is calling this function, but the variable is undefined. And that's because of this option explicit. It is saying that the variable is undefined. So for now, let's just take off the option explicit. Okay, and let's try to run this code, and we're still expecting an error. And here is the expected error. It says type mismatch. That means that QTP does not understand what this navigate underscore browser is. It is a function, but QTP does not understand that it is a function. Oh, so why not? Well, it's because we have to add this function library called myFunctionLibrary. You have to add this whenever you try to add or call a function. You have to add the whole function library within the script. So one way One way to add the function library, from the script, click on File, Settings, Resources. So in the next video, let's add the function library and try to execute a successful run of the script.